if you are using chalk pastels, know that they turn out really nice on black paper, but white paper will work as well too. And chalk pastels are a lot like sidewalk chalk. They're a little bit harder. They're going to be in these white boxes. They're kind of these rectangle shapes, and if you touch them, you're going to get a little bit of chalk on your hands. So when we are using chalk pastels, you want to start by practicing on a practice sheet and using your color wheel to decide what colors you would like to mix together. So I have my picture drawn, but I want to practice first. So if I look at my color wheel, maybe I want to have a blue flower. I would start on a scrap piece of paper that's the same color as the color paper that I drew my flower on. Would start by laying down that main color. So I want to have a blue flower. I'm just going to lightly lay down that color. And with our chalk pastels, we use our finger to massage the color into our paper. And that's why when you're using chalk pastel, you do not have to push very hard, because if you push too hard, see how there's chalk dust everywhere? And that's what we use our finger for, to kind of massage that color into the paper, because we don't want that chalk dust left over when we are done. So you're picking your main color. My main color is blue, and then I'm using my color wheel to decide what I want to do with my blue. And we want to make it lighter and darker to show that there's highlights and shadows on our flower, and even just that our flower is changing colors, because things in nature have a lot of different shades to them. So white is a great way to add color. So I would just overlap a little bit with my white to see what happens when those colors mix. And you're gonna just practice mixing different colors. I know that my cool colors all mix well together, so green or purple would go well with my blue. So I might even try mixing in some green, but you can also experiment mixing other colors with blue. We know that blue and red make purple, so that might be something that you try as well. So I'm putting the green in there with my blue, and then I'm using my finger to massage and mix my colors together. And so that's kind of like my practice test strip. And if you don't like what you practice, flip it over and try something else. So you could try a different color. Maybe you decide that you don't like the blue and the green, and you would rather do blue and purple. And you would practice that if you didn't like what you practiced the first time, okay? So then you would go, after you've decided what colors you want to use using your color wheel in your practice, and just kind of getting used to chalk pastels, you would go back to your flower and fill in with that main color. So I did decide that my main color was blue, and you would just draw your outlines in pencil. But I'm just gonna lightly go over my flower in blue, and I'm not even going to worry about covering the entire petal. I'm just barely touching my paper. You do not need to push hard. That's the one kind of thing with craftsmanship and chalk pastels. Do not push very hard. Don't fill the whole space in with the color. Just kind of scribble it in. I am going to use white on the ends of my petals, and I will overlap it with the blue. And again, just scribbling it in gently. You do not have to push very hard, overlapping those colors just a little bit. And then I think on the inside, instead of green, I'm gonna try purple. And on the inside is where you would want a darker color, because that's where not as much light would be reaching in the middle of your flower. And if you want the center of your flower to be a different color, you could do that too. So I'm again just scribbling in that color. This is my darker color that I'm gonna mix with my blue. Then I take my finger, I'm going to massage these colors in. So I'll start in the middle of each petal and then work my way out to kind of blend them in together. So I start in the middle, blend out, to kind of have a slow change from dark to light. And notice how once I start to massage with my finger, that fills that entire petal in with color. That's why you don't have to use so much of that chalk pastel. So I have them blended out. I could then even take my green. I decided I wanted this to be a leaf. And just scribble that green in here. You could even do some shading if you do a leaf as well. And then once you kind of have that main change from light to dark, and I think I'm gonna have the center of this be white. I'll use a different finger to blend that so I don't get blue on it. Once you have that change from dark to light in your petals, you can go back and use a little bit more pressure to outline things, or maybe kind of draw in some details on each petal if you would like to do that. Now be careful with the chalk pastels not to smear or get your hand on these. That purple's not showing up as much as I would like to, so I might even go back in with my white to add more lines as well. It's more of a contrast that I can see. So kind of play around with them. The main thing with chalk pastels is to use your finger to massage in the color. Do not push very hard with them, just scribble them in and then massage them in, and use kind of the tip of them to add more details to your petals. And if you wanted to, you could do a background, or you could just leave it black.